So I'm doing Johannesburg water from South Africa with Santiago and Lauren. We've identified the policy interventions that we believe were the most successful to improving the water utility. They had improved operational and revenue management and progressive cross-subsidy block tariffs. Johannesburg is the largest city that's not near water, so they depend on a bulk water supplier, Rand Water, that's arranged by the national government. The apartheid policies left the city and the country with infrastructure that wasn't evenly distributed throughout the city. Many people were very distrustful of the government, even as they progressed to try to address many of the problems. After they began instituting a lot of these changes, there was a lot of institutional energy put behind changing the utilities. So they had a unique opportunity to have a lot of people putting their energy into changing these things, especially inside national and local government. And then the new constitution in 1994 made access to water a right. That's 3.8 million people in the city of Johannesburg. 40% count as low income with poor services. 20% live in abject poverty in informal settlements that increased after the end of apartheid with immigration. So a little bit about their corporatization model. It was the end goal rather than a step towards privatization. They entered into a 5-year management contract with Suez Group. What Suez did was increase the institutional capacity and also did a lot to increase the diversity of the management staff, which was a really important function. They improved cost recovery and service delivery. They phased out the Suez staff, so it was really passing on the private company's expertise but keeping it in the government's hands. The city was the only shareholder. In the first year, they established baseline measures, followed by increasingly strict targets that were sort of adapted as they went along. And as they met these targets, they were able to establish trust with the customers, the regulators, and the financial markets. And the management contract helped the utility grow from near bankruptcy to a small profit. Since Suez has left, there have been some changes in billing. So it's a little unclear what the future is going to look like. Johannesburg Water manages all meter readings and billing data, but the city continues to manage the accounts and collect bills. So their mandate is to improve operational capacity and utility, reorganize operations, and increase the capacity of the staff. They have a contractual and constitutional obligation for universal access and affordable tariffs.
Johannesburg Water provides water and it also provides sewerage to 3.8 million customers and 750,000 domestic, commercial, and industrial accounts. Their water distribution pipes are about 11,000 kilometers, over 100 reservoirs, and 6 water treatment plants. They also have South African nationally accredited testing laboratories. They maintain pretty high standards for their water quality. However, they have a somewhat high unaccounted for water at 39%. Just taking a look at their 2011 finances, they were operating at a surplus of, in rands, 385 million. And this was an increase from the previous year. However, they have some revenue collection policy changes that have actually decreased their cash flow. This is because the city has now taken over collection of all of the billing. Nonetheless, even though there's been this recent decrease, they're still operating at a surplus. So this is about 20% of the city's revenues, so the city's doing pretty good. Before the corporatization, the bulk water was about 80% of operating costs. The capital investment comes from a budget that's provided by the city. One of the main reasons that Johannesburg Water corporatization was successful was because of the improvement in the revenue management. They focused mainly on making sure they could collect from the high volume customers. This increased collection rate led to an increase in their net revenue of more than 20%. Just looking at operational efficiency and some of the things that happened that made the corporatization successful was that they significantly reduced their commercial loss of non-revenue bulk purchase water. They repaired and replaced a lot of meters that had been inaccurate. They also implemented an asset register and started doing preventative maintenance. They also divided into 6 operational regions and established a 24-hour call service.
So what's required to this utility was to deal with the universal access and affordable rates. So what they did is decided going to have these 3 different levels of services, and with the lowest level of services, they reach this 98% of water coverage. The idea was just to reach with water to the informal settlement, and they just put 1 standpipe every 200 meters. But it was provided for free, and it was to the low-income people. A different problem was with the people who was living in informal settlements that were going to be upgraded, but they don't have the funds to ask for the service. So what we did here is just put an individual yard pipe, but with the condition that they cannot connect. If you want to connect to your internal network, you're going to be using the level of server number 3. The point was to make everyone be accountable for what we're consuming.